the House. In those years, I've worked closely with Kevin in a variety of different capacities. And, well, he's a good friend. But serving with him in these capacities has meant that I've heard every one of his stories. And the stories of Kevin O's Deli I've heard way too many times. I don't know if you've heard that he won the lottery as well. Those stories, I could recount them chapter and verse. He's a dear friend. But all of you have heard these stories too. And it's also, by my seat, able to watch him on a front row seat as he's grown as a leader. And especially this week, how he's grown as a leader. He knows more about members than they know about themselves. If your spouse is sick, he may send flowers or fruit before I did on that story. But he cares so much about members, not for politics, but because he cares about people. He's unflinchingly optimistic. The glass is always half full. That's been a hell of a trait, especially this week. He's relentless. The man does not quit. And it was Kevin that led Republicans back to the majority in this House, the only Republican institution in Washington this day. And Kevin has led us through these challenges the last few days. And Kevin is the right person to lead us over the coming 2 years. And that's why, at the direction of the Republican Conference, I advance the name of Kevin McCarthy as the next Speaker of the United States House of Representatives.
For what purpose does the gentleman from California rise?
Madam Clerk, I rise to nominate Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker of the House.
The gentleman is recognized.
House Democrats are united behind the son of a social worker and substance abuse counselor, a leader who is deeply involved in his community, and a tireless advocate for the least, the lost, and the left behind. He is a voice for the people. And Madam Clerk, this is the people's house. Two years ago today, duly elected members of this body gathered here to certify the results of a free and fair election. And in doing so, we participated in a tradition that makes our democracy a marvel and the envy of the world, a peaceful transfer of power. But this body is more than a ceremonial chamber, Madam Clerk. This is a workplace where hundreds of men and women endure long, difficult hours before they punch out and go home to their families, where good people come to work each day and maybe steal a quiet moment to themselves to look up at the ceiling or to look at the paintings, the statue of Abraham Lincoln, and to thank God for the blessings of liberty. Because this place is so much more than a chamber or even a workplace. It is, in Lincoln's words, a sign we intend the Union shall go on. And I'm not just talking about the members either, Madam Clerk. I'm talking about you and your staff, the custodial staff, the floor staff, the institutional staff, our congressional staff, the Sergeant at Arms, our beloved chaplain, and the Capitol Police. I'm talking about the people who make this House work, the people who Hakeem Jeffries will never take for granted. Two years ago, Madam Clerk, we witnessed this place under siege by a violent mob who desecrated this building and the other chamber. But this feels a little familiar. Today we adjourned amidst utter confusion, only this time we're returning in the dark of night, not to cast a vote to bring this country together and to do our jobs, but one that will set the path toward division and default. So if we are forced to be here this evening because of the chaos and crisis on the other side, it's only fair to point out, Madam Clerk, that the same individuals who fanned the flames of January 6th, who told their followers and their followers' followers that they needed to fight back, and who challenged the swearing in of members based on a bogus claim of fake electors, may well be in charge of the People's House if they can ever agree on who can lead them.
Will the House be in order?
That's why House Democrats stand united behind Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem is the only candidate in this race for Speaker who will defend this democracy. He is the only candidate in this race willing to call out the lie that the election was stolen. And he is the only candidate in this race who thinks that everyone involved on January 6th ought to be held accountable regardless of the positions they hold in power. For justice and truth, and in memory of the lives lost on January 6th, I nominate Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker of the House.
The reading clerk will call the roll.
Adams. Jeffries. Aderholt. McCarthy. Aguilar. Jeffries. Alford. McCarthy. Allen. McCarthy. Allred. Jeffries. Amadei. McCarthy. Armstrong. McCarthy. Arrington. McCarthy. Auchincloss. Jeffries. Babin. McCarthy. Bacon. McCarthy. Baird. McCarthy. Balderson. McCarthy. Ballant. Jeffries. Banks. McCarthy. Barr. McCarthy. Barragan. Jeffries. Bean of Florida. McCarthy. Beatty. Jeffries. Bentz. McCarthy. Barra. Jeffries. Bergman. McCarthy. Beyer. Jeffries. Bice. McCarthy. Biggs. Biggs. Jordan. Bilirakis. McCarthy. Bishop of Georgia. Jeffries. Bishop of North Carolina. McCarthy. Blumenauer. Jeffries. Blunt Rochester. Jeffries. Boebert. Present. Bonamici. Jeffries. Bost. Bost. McCarthy. Bowman. Jeffries. Boyle of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Burkeen. McCarthy. Brown. Jeffries. Brownlee. Jeffries. Buchanan. McCarthy. Buck. Buck. Bouchon. McCarthy. Baczynski. Jeffries. Burchett. McCarthy. Burgess. McCarthy. Burleson. McCarthy. Bush. Jeffries. Calvert. McCarthy. Kamek. McCarthy. Caraveo. Jeffries. Carbajal. Jeffries. Cardenas. Jeffries. Carey. McCarthy. Carl. McCarthy. Carson. Jeffries. Carter of Georgia. McCarthy. Carter of Louisiana. Jeffries. Carter of Texas. McCarthy. Cartwright. Jeffries. Kassar. Jeffries. Case. Jeffries. Caston. Jeffries. Castor of Florida. Jeffries. Castro of Texas. Jeffries. Chavez DeReamer. McCarthy. Sherfilis McCormick. Jeffries. Chu. Jeffries. Cicilline. Jeffries. Ciscomani. McCarthy. Clark of Massachusetts. Jeffries. Clark of New York. Jeffries. Cleaver. Jeffries. Klein. McCarthy. Cloud. McCarthy. Clyburn. Clyburn. Jeffries. Clyde. McCarthy. Cohen. Jeffries. Cole. McCarthy. Collins. McCarthy. Comer. McCarthy. Connolly. Jeffries. Correa. Jeffries. Costa. Jeffries. Courtney. Jeffries. Craig. Jeffries. Crane. Biggs. Crawford. McCarthy. Crenshaw. McCarthy. Crockett. Jeffries. Crow. Jeffries. Cuellar. Jeffries. Curtis. McCarthy. Davids of Kansas. Jeffries. Davidson. McCarthy. Davis of Illinois. Jeffries. Davis of North Carolina. Jeffries. Dean of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. DeGette. Jeffries. Dela Cruz.
Texas 15th Congressional District stands with Kevin McCarthy.
McCarthy. DeLauro. Jeffries. Del Bene. Jeffries. DeLuzio. Jeffries. DeSaulnier. Jeffries. Desjardins. McCarthy. Diaz-Pizito. McCarthy. Diaz-Balart. McCarthy. Dingle. Jeffries. Doggett. Jeffries. Donalds. McCarthy. Duarte. McCarthy. Duncan. McCarthy. Dunn of Florida. McCarthy. Edwards. McCarthy. Elsie. McCarthy. Emmer. McCarthy. Escobar. Jeffries. Eshu. Jeffries. Espaillat. Jeffries. Estes. McCarthy. Evans. Jeffries. Ezell. McCarthy. Fallon. McCarthy. Finstra. McCarthy. Ferguson. McCarthy. Finstad. McCarthy. Fishbach. McCarthy. Fitzgerald. McCarthy. Fitzpatrick. McCarthy. Fleischman. McCarthy. Fletcher. Jeffries. Flood. McCarthy. Foster. Jeffries. Fushi. Jeffries. Fox. McCarthy. Lois Frankel. Jeffries. C. Scott Franklin. McCarthy. Frost. Jeffries. Fry. McCarthy. Fulcher. McCarthy. Gates. Gates. Gallagher. McCarthy. Gallego. Jeffries. Garamendi. Jeffries. Garbarino. McCarthy. Mike Garcia. McCarthy. Robert Garcia. Jeffries. Garcia of Illinois. Jeffries. Garcia of Texas. Jeffries. Jimenez. McCarthy. Golden of Maine. Jeffries. Goldman of New York. Jeffries. Gomez. Jeffries. Tony Gonzalez. McCarthy. Vicente Gonzalez. Jeffries. Good of Virginia. Jordan. Gooden of Texas. Gooden of Texas. McCarthy. Gosar. Gosar. Gottheimer. Jeffries. Granger. McCarthy. Graves of Louisiana. Graves of Louisiana. Graves of Missouri. McCarthy. Green of Tennessee. McCarthy. Green of Texas. Jeffries. Green of Georgia. McCarthy. Griffith. McCarthy. Grijalva. Jeffries. Grothman. McCarthy. Guest. McCarthy. Guthrie. McCarthy. Hageman. McCarthy. Harder of California. Harder of California. Harris. Harris. McCarthy. Harshbarger. McCarthy. Hayes. Jeffries. Hearn. McCarthy. Higgins of Louisiana. McCarthy. Higgins of New York. Jeffries. Hill. McCarthy. Himes. Jeffries. Hinson. McCarthy. Horsford. Jeffries. Houchin. McCarthy. Houlihan. Jeffries. Hoyer. Jeffries. Hoyle of Oregon. Jeffries. Hudson. McCarthy. Huffman. Jeffries. Huizenga. McCarthy. Hunt. McCarthy. Issa. Issa. McCarthy. Ivy. Jeffries. Jackson of Illinois. Jeffries. Jackson of North Carolina. Jeffries. Jackson of Texas. McCarthy. Jackson Lee. Jeffries. Jacobs. Jeffries. James. McCarthy. Jayapal. Jeffries. 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 Johnson of Georgia. Jeffries. Johnson of Louisiana. McCarthy. Johnson of Ohio. McCarthy. Johnson of South Dakota. McCarthy. Jordan. McCarthy. Joyce of Ohio. McCarthy. Joyce of Pennsylvania. McCarthy. Kemlager Dove. Jeffries. Capter. Jeffries. Kane of New Jersey. McCarthy. Keating. Jeffries. Kelly of Illinois. Jeffries. Kelly of Mississippi. McCarthy. Kelly of Pennsylvania. McCarthy. Kana. Jeffries. Kiggins of Virginia. McCarthy. Kildee. Jeffries. Kiley. McCarthy. Kilmer. Jeffries. Kim of California. McCarthy. Kim of New Jersey. Jeffries. Krishnamurthy. Jeffries. Custer. Jeffries. Kustoff. McCarthy. LaHood. McCarthy. LaLota. McCarthy. LaMalfa. McCarthy. Lamborn. McCarthy. Landsman. Jeffries. Langworthy. McCarthy. Larson of Washington. Jeffries. Larson of Connecticut. Jeffries. Latta. McCarthy. LaTurner. McCarthy. Lawler.
The Honorable Kevin McCarthy.
McCarthy. Lee of California. Jeffries. Lee of Florida. McCarthy. Lee of Nevada. Jeffries. Lee of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Ledger Fernandez. Jeffries. Lesko. McCarthy. Letlow. McCarthy. Levin. Jeffries. Liu. Jeffries. Lofgren. Jeffries. Loudermilk.
Kevin McCarthy.
McCarthy. Lucas. McCarthy. Luetkemeyer. McCarthy. Luna. McCarthy. Luttrell. McCarthy. Lynch. Jeffries. Mace. McCarthy. Magaziner. Jeffries. Maliotakis. McCarthy. Mann. McCarthy. Manning. Jeffries. Massey. McCarthy. Mast. Mast. McCarthy. Matsui. Jeffries. McBath. Jeffries. McCarthy. McCarthy. McCall. McCarthy. McLean. McCarthy. McClintock. McCarthy. McCullum. Jeffries. McCormick. McCarthy. McGarvey. Jeffries. McGovern. Jeffries. McHenry. McCarthy. Meeks. Jeffries. Menendez. Jeffries. Mean. Jeffries. Muser. McCarthy. Mfume. Jeffries. Miller of Illinois. McCarthy. Miller of Ohio. McCarthy. Miller of West Virginia. McCarthy. Miller Meeks. McCarthy. Mills. McCarthy. Molinaro. McCarthy. Molinar. McCarthy. Mooney. McCarthy. Moore of Alabama. McCarthy. Moore of Utah. McCarthy. Moore of Wisconsin. Jeffries. Moran. McCarthy. Morelli.
Mr. Jeffries.
Jeffries. Moskowitz. Jeffries. Moulton. Jeffries. Mervan. Jeffries. Mullen. Jeffries. Murphy. McCarthy. Nadler. Jeffries. Napolitano. Jeffries. Neal. Jeffries. Neguse. Jeffries. Nels. McCarthy. Newhouse. McCarthy. Nickel. Jeffries. Norcross. Pallone. Jeffries. Palmer. McCarthy. Panetta. Jeffries. Pappas. Jeffries. Pasquarel. Jeffries. Payne. Jeffries. Pelosi. Jeffries. Peltola. Jeffries. Pence. McCarthy. Perez. Jeffries. Perry. McCarthy. Peters. Jeffries. Pedersen. Jeffries. Pfluger. McCarthy. Phillips. Jeffries. Pingree. Jeffries. Pocan. Jeffries. Porter. Jeffries. Posey. McCarthy. Presley. Jeffries. Quigley. Jeffries. Ramirez. Jeffries. Raskin. Jeffries. Reschenthaler. McCarthy. Rogers of Washington. McCarthy. Rogers of Alabama. McCarthy. Rogers of Kentucky. McCarthy. Rose. McCarthy. Rosendale. Biggs. Ross. Jeffries. Rouser. McCarthy. Roy. McCarthy. Ruiz. Jeffries. Rupersberger. Jeffries. Rutherford. McCarthy. Ryan. Jeffries. Salazar. McCarthy. Salinas. Jeffries. Sanchez. Jeffries. Santos. McCarthy. Sarbanes. Jeffries. Scalise. McCarthy. Scanlon. Jeffries. Schakowsky. Jeffries. Schiff. Jeffries. Snyder. Jeffries. Skolton. Jeffries. Schreier. Jeffries. Swikert. McCarthy. Austin Scott. McCarthy. David Scott. David Scott. Scott of Virginia. Jeffries. Self. McCarthy. Sessions. McCarthy. Sewell. Jeffries. Sherman. Jeffries. Sherrill. Jeffries. Simpson. McCarthy. Slotkin. Jeffries. Smith of Missouri. McCarthy. Smith of Nebraska. McCarthy. Smith of New Jersey. McCarthy. Smith of Washington. Jeffries. Smucker. McCarthy. Sorensen. Jeffries. Soto. Jeffries. Spanberger. Jeffries. Sparts. McCarthy. Stansbury. Jeffries. Stanton. Jeffries. Stauber. McCarthy. Steele. McCarthy. Stefanik. McCarthy. Style. McCarthy. Stubbe. McCarthy. Stevens. Jeffries. Stewart. McCarthy. Strickland. Jeffries. Strong. McCarthy. Swalwell. Jeffries. Sykes. Jeffries. Takano. Jeffries. Tenney. McCarthy. Tanadar. Jeffries. Thompson of California. Jeffries. Thompson of Mississippi. Jeffries. Thompson of Pennsylvania. McCarthy. Tiffany. McCarthy. Timmons. McCarthy. Titus. Jeffries. Tlaib. Jeffries. Takuda. Jeffries. Tonko. Jeffries. Torres of California. Jeffries. Torres of New York. Jeffries. Trahan. Jeffries. Trone. Jeffries. Turner. McCarthy. Underwood. Jeffries. Valadeo. McCarthy. Van Drew. McCarthy. Van Dyne. McCarthy. Van Orden. McCarthy. Vargas. Jeffries. Vasquez. Jeffries. VC. Jeffries. Velasquez. Jeffries. Wagner. McCarthy. Wahlberg. McCarthy. Waltz. McCarthy. Wasserman Schultz. Jeffries. Waters. Jeffries. Watson Coleman. Jeffries. Weber of Texas. McCarthy. Webster of Florida. McCarthy. Winstrup. McCarthy. Westerman. McCarthy. Wexton. Jeffries. Wild. Jeffries. Williams of Georgia. Jeffries. Williams of New York. Williams of New York. McCarthy. Williams of Texas. McCarthy. Wilson of Florida. Jeffries. Wilson of South Carolina. McCarthy. Whitman. McCarthy. Womack. McCarthy. Yacom. McCarthy. Zinke. McCarthy.
The reading clerk will now call the names of the members-elect who did not answer the first call of the roll.
Buck. McCarthy. Gates. Present. Gosar. McCarthy. Graves of Louisiana. McCarthy. Harder of California. Jeffries. David Scott. Jeffries.